Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 58th annual graduation ceremony here at Frankfurt International School. For the past 5 years, I have had the privilege of being the upper school principal. To those of you joining us in person and to the thousands of you joining us from around the world on the live stream today, welcome. Please rise and join me in welcoming the class of 2024. Welcome, graduates. That was quite an entrance. Please be seated. For the remainder of graduation ceremony today, I will act as a master of ceremonies and will try to keep the proceedings moving smoothly and on time. You can follow along with the proceedings in your programs. I'd now like to call to the stage our head of school, Dr. Paul Fochman, to offer opening remarks and to introduce our guest speaker. Dr. Fochman.
Good afternoon. Let's see if I can do it without the glasses today. Good afternoon, FIS graduates, colleagues, parents, extended family, and all others who are joining virtually from around the globe, probably about 5,000 or 6,000 by now. My name is Paul Fochman, and it's an honor to address the graduating class as the head of school in our 58th graduation ceremony. Throughout my time as a head of school, a highlight is to address the graduating class. And after spending last weekend with my family celebrating my son's graduation from college on the return flight yesterday somewhere over Greenland, I reflected on why that graduation was so special and meaningful. Then further reflecting back on previous speeches, I see they were principally aimed at two themes, the past or the future. I reminded graduates of the past because it honors the path and the people who brought them to graduation day. The roots of this day and the celebration began long before you started school. It began when you were waddling around in your diapers and when you received your first lesson in love from your family that's here today. Then eventually you found your way into a classroom. For some of you, and it looked like I think about 9, started at the FIS First Steps, maybe with Miss Gale over here. Your studies began with subjects very important for life: friendship, wonder, creativity, self-control. As the years passed, those subjects remained, and we added reading, writing, arithmetic, art, history, science, a couple foreign languages, technology, TOK, let's see, and probably much, much more. A touch of CAS, a pinch of extended essay, and the recipe was complete. But today I'm not going to speak further about the past other than to say that all, myself included, stand upon the shoulders of our family, our friends, and our teachers that have shared their love and their wisdom with us since infancy. As for the future, this has also been a compelling topic, filled with the excitement and the mystery of the unknown, kind of like a gift that's waiting to be unwrapped. Will the university that you've chosen meet your expectations? Will the gap year that you've meticulously planned unfold in an exciting yet unexpected pathway? Will you find a job that not only pays the rent, but gives you purpose? Will the world that's so embroiled in war and injustice finally achieve peace? And in the years ahead, will you remain in touch with those that are robed around you? And what will happen with the relationship of your family as you leave home? All of these are great themes to explore and are likely being addressed in other graduations around the world. But I've chosen not to bring out my crystal ball and will not be talking about the future. Being the exemplary students you are, you've probably deduced that if I'm not talking about the past and I'm not talking about the future, that leaves one thing: the present. And by the present, I don't mean the school year or the last month of exams. I want to address this very moment we are all sharing together, because living in the present has been a feat that has both consumed and eluded the greatest minds. You may be thinking you're living in the present, and this is some New Age nonsense, but there is a quote from a French mathematician scientist, Blaise Pascal, who at your age had invented the first mechanical calculator in 1642. Let us each examine our thoughts, and we'll find them wholly concerned with the past or the future. We almost never think of the present, and if we do, it's only to see if it sheds light on the future. The present is never our end, thus we never actually live. We hope to live, but since we're always planning how to be happy, it's inevitable that we should never be so. Think about that simple mathematical equation. Happiness equals living in the now. Despite countless movies that we've explored, there's no time travel, we can't return to the past, and we can't skip to the future. But when we spend so much mental time and energy in these realms, we miss out on the only real option for being fully alive: the present. Martha Graham provided a perspective from the arts, the great dancer and choreographer. All that is important is this one moment. Make that moment important, vital, and worth living. Do not let it slip away unnoticed or unused. Those of you that have been on the FIS stage, and I know that's many of you, and from what I heard this morning, even up until the last 3 days, you were still performing and supporting. Thinking about the past, thinking about the future, you may miss a line or a note, and thinking about a past or future performance is made up of only one thought, not an action, and living life to the fullest must be an action, not a thought. Leo Tolstoy, one of the greatest writers of all time, said, "Remember then, there's only one time that is important. Now. It is that important time because it is the only time when we have any real power." How true. Like any human, I've made a mistake or two in my past, but no matter how hard I try, I have no power to change any of them. Can I alter my future? I sure can by acting in the present. In fact, the great Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "The future depends on what we do in the present," followed by poet Emily Dickinson, who echoed Gandhi when she said, "Forever is composed of nows." Well, if you think it's only historically renowned individuals who talked about such things, what about the recently graduated college basketball phenom, Caitlin Clark? This year, when asked about the basis of her success, she credited one of her coaches. Caitlin said, "Coach Bluter always said, 'Be where your feet are.'" To truly live by that is to be 100% invested in the moment and give it your all, because it goes so fast, and these are the moments we're going to want to remember. I could keep on going all afternoon with quotes from countless prominent figures, All of them is to point to the simple truth that if we're not living in the present moment, we're not fully alive. Lamenting about the past, being anxious about the future is a waste of time. Preparing for the future is important, but it can only be by acting on the present. Possibly not some parents and grandparents in the audience watching today can relate, because this message, as we age, we become more aware of how quickly time passes. When we realize this, we come to realize that the only way to slow down is to savor the moment. You can embrace that truth, and you will be well ahead of many of us. With that understanding, we can learn to tell people how much we care about them. So, this is your final assignment for FIS, and it will likely take you a lifetime, but you can start today. Be grateful for your past, plan for your future, but live in the present. In this moment, when you're surrounded by your classmates, your family, friends, and teachers who all look on with a great deal of pride, you're about to walk across the stage, and in doing so, walk into a new chapter of your life. This only happens once. You are a bouquet. Enjoy this full bloom moment. Savor every second of it. Thank you. Now I'm honored to welcome Mr. Nick Heisman-Smith as our guest speaker. Nick is an educational leader and researcher dedicated to the advancement of social and emotional learning. He is currently the executive director and co-founder of the Institute for Social and Emotional Learning, where he has developed curricula and programs that emphasize equity and inclusion and the well-being of our students in leading international schools around the world. Nick holds master's degrees from the University of Oxford and Stanford University and is pursuing a doctorate in education from the University of Bristol. His fondest educational memories, however, came right here at FIS. Nick was a student here for kindergarten and grade 1 back in 1986. Please join me in giving a warm welcome and welcome back to Nick Heisman-Smith.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fockman, for that introduction, and to everybody here for the very warm welcome back to Frankfurt International School. It's a huge honor to be invited to be here today to celebrate with all of you, students, parents, siblings, teachers, and of course, graduates. And I really hope your hearts are overflowing and full of joy and pride today. It's been 37 years since I attended FIS for kindergarten and first grade, and to be back now, with my husband and my daughter, who is the same age as I was when I came here as a student, is a full circle, beautiful, and somewhat unnerving moment. It's unnerving partly because I don't feel old enough to have done anything 37 years ago, but it's also unnerving because today, my friends, I have an admission to make, and it's an admission of guilt. You see, a few months ago, my mother delivered a box of old books to my house, full of children's books. And as I was putting my daughter Penny to bed one night, I grabbed a book from the top of the pile. Here it is. It's called Stop, Stop. And just as I was reading this and my daughter snuggling in, falling asleep, I got to the end of the book and I noticed this. Yep, it appears that at some point in the late 1980s, my family stole this book from the FIS library. While I do sincerely hope I now hold the record for the longest overdue book in the school, I'm not sure what the daily overdue fee is or fine is, but I'm hoping my punishment might be lessened for good behavior, and if not, I'm blaming my mother, and she is watching right now. So my family moved to Frankfurt International School in 1984, and I started here the following year with my sister. I've just a few memories of that time. Really happy memories of playing on the top field, which can I assure you did not look anything as fancy as it does now. And also learning to swim at the Kurbad in Königstein and going to the Opal Zoo, where I actually went with my daughter and husband this morning. I do also have one very stressful memory of my time here, which is my older sister dragging me across campus after school one day to make sure we didn't miss our bus. It was snowing really heavily. I only had one snow boot on. My jacket was falling off. And we all know how cold Abridged can get. I can still feel the cold in my body to this moment. Here is my kindergarten teacher, Miss McPherson, in 1985, And my friends, here is me. Pretty concerning, right? I'm not sure what was going on for me this day, but it looks like I was plotting something sinister or something slightly macabre, I'm not sure. Thankfully, however, by the time I joined first grade and Miss Shaw's class, things were looking up, and I appeared to be a much more balanced, normal young person. Of course, I don't really have many memories of something so long ago when I was in first grade, although I assume I learned lots of those dubious American spellings with lots of Z's instead of S's and all those missing U's, all of which I then had to unlearn when I went back to school in London eventually. But I don't really remember the topics we studied, and I don't even really remember what the classroom looked like. But I do remember Miss Shaw, and I definitely remember how I felt in her classroom and how I felt when I was a student here at FIS. And that is a deep feeling of warmth and belonging. As the poet Maya Angelou said, I've learned that people will forget what you said. I've learned that people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. In my case, it's both the teacher and the school. I really do have a deep memory of being here and how special the feeling was as a student. I'd like to think that at least part of my commitment to learning and education and part of being communities that really prioritize belonging did indeed start here at FIS. In the years since leaving FIS, I went back to school in the UK, in London. I attended university in the UK, and a few years later was very fortunate to be given a place to go to study in California, where I studied different approaches to well-being and mental health in school systems around the world. Shortly after graduating in 2009, I started the Institute for Social and Emotional Learning with my colleagues. IFSEL works with schools around the world, from the US to China and from Indonesia to indeed here in Germany, with our mission to empower teachers, parents, and students to transform their communities into even more caring places. Our vision is a world where empathy abounds and all people can thrive. I really do pinch myself often that I get to do this as a job, to support schools and to work with young people and teachers, especially when I look at the world around us right now. That's enough about me. Class of 2024, this is your special day, and I really do hope, as I said, that you feel that sense of pride and joy, because I know you certainly deserve it. In my experience, as Dr. Fockman just said, big days like this have a tendency to kind of fly by, and before we know it, it's all over. And if we're not careful, we can miss that opportunity to pause and let it all soak in. So for some of you might be looking back and reminiscing, and perhaps seeing those harrowing photos of me up there has reminded you of maybe what you looked like in kindergarten or whatever year you started here at school. And while some of you may be reminiscing, maybe others of you are just really excited to get up here on stage, get to the event tonight, into your summers and into whatever lies ahead. But for a moment, I really agree with you, Paul. Let's just pause and catch our breath and be truly present here together. So I invite you now, graduates, look around this room. Spot your parents, your siblings, your family members, your friends in the room, and feel your ground beneath your feet. Look at your friends, look at your family. Remember all the good times you've had here, and probably those difficult times. Remember the times when you felt like you really belonged at this school. The times when you laughed so hard with your friends, or maybe where you did that thing you probably shouldn't have done. Remember the time where you won that game or that match, or when you got to sing or perform on stage. Just look around for a moment and soak it all in. I encourage you really to remember this moment, this place, the light, the smell, the sounds, the townless air. Etch as much of it as you can into your memory, because this is both the end of something today, but it's also the beginning of something. In thinking about what I might want to share with you today, I kept coming back to one of my favorite poems, and if you don't mind, I'd love to read it to you now. The poem is called All I Ever Really Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten by Robert Fulghum. All of what I ever really needed to know about how to live, what to do, or how to be, I learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of the graduate school mountain, but there in the sandbox at nursery school. These are the things I learned. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours, and say sorry when you hurt somebody. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you, so give them to somebody who feels sad. Live a balanced life. Learn some, think some, draw, paint, sing, dance, play, and work every day. Take a nap every afternoon. Be aware of wonder. Remember the little seed that you planted in that plastic cup? The roots go down and the leaves go up? Well, we're all like that. Everything you need to know is in there somewhere. And it's still true, no matter how old we all are, when you go out into the world, it's best to hold hands and stick together. From this poem, 3 lines have always really jumped out for me. Firstly, be aware of wonder. The UC Berkeley researcher Dacher Keltner has explored the concept of awe and wonder in his work. He defines awe as the moment of experiencing something so vast that your mind has to expand to truly comprehend it. In his research, he found that experiences of awe were positively associated with feelings of connectedness, increased critical thinking, increased positive mood, and decreased sense of materialism. He also noted that in multiple studies, there's evidence that experiencing awe makes people more kind and generous. But please don't feel like awe has to be something grand, like seeing the Northern Lights or completing that feat of physical endurance. Indeed, sometimes awe can be the really small things as well, like watching those leaves change on the trees outside, noticing an act of generosity from one person to another, or going to see one of the paintings in your favorite gallery, or just listening to your favorite music album. But awe can also come from those small moments in time as well. For parents and families in the room right now, I imagine seeing your child graduate is indeed a moment of awe. Maybe for students looking ahead to the knowns and the unknowns of the years in front of you, that can also be an awe-inspiring experience. So, just like when you were at kindergarten and you saw your seed sprout in the cup, I encourage all of us to seek awe and wonder, both big and small, and let yourself be inspired and moved. The second line that really resonated from this poem was to say sorry when you hurt someone. Because it's inevitable in life that even with all of the very best of intentions, the impact of our words or our actions may cause harm or hurt someone. We're all human. We will all make mistakes. By now, it's very true that we will all likely have caused harm in some way, but we will all also carry wounds. The author and psychologist Terry Real writes about relationships and argues that what renders a relationship good or bad is not actually the depths of the disharmony, but the presence or the absence of repair. So in a world that is so full of conflict and increasingly polarized views, political, social, cultural, what really is important is knowing how to repair, heal, and restore relationships. So I encourage all of us, adults and young people alike, to stay curious, ask questions. When in dialogue, try to avoid the alwayses and the nevers, and be open to changing your mind and having your own mind changed. Listen to understand, not just to respond. Because when conflict arises or when harm has been done, we need to know that that's normal, it's a full part of being human. But we must prioritize reconnection. Reaching out the hand of reconciliation is not weakness, it's really hard, and it requires courage and self-compassion. All right, the final line from the poem that's by far my favorite, you probably guessed which one it was, is when you go out into the world, it's best to hold hands and stick together. You see, way before the pandemic, the US Surgeon General Vivek Murthy wrote a book called The Epidemic of Loneliness. And he commented on the sense of social isolation that was spreading worldwide. In an era where technology really does play tricks on us and makes us feel more connected by the quantity of our relationships, we know we need to work even harder than ever to nurture the quality of them. So I encourage you all, as you go your separate ways, to take time to send that quick message, schedule a group call, catch up, check in on each other, and stay connected. I'm not suggesting you necessarily need to actually hold hands, you're very welcome to, but the metaphor remains. Class of 2024, whatever your next steps might be, I really do hope that you all go on to find and build your own communities that are inclusive and where you feel like you really can belong, where you feel you can be your true, authentic self. As I said at the start, it is a huge honor to be here today, but I also know I'm just the warm-up act for the really important stuff that's to follow. But before I leave you, one final word of advice. Check your bags and your bookcases before you leave, just to avoid having to make embarrassing public admissions of guilt for stealing books in the years to come. I really wish you all a wonderful day and an evening ahead. I'm going to be cheering on each and every one of you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Nick, for those inspirational words. I think I can speak on behalf of our librarian that we can waive the overdue fee. So Penny, that book is yours. Let's continue with our first musical performance. So our first performance today is by two of our graduating seniors, Elizabeth Glace and Laszlo Lawless, accompanied by one of our 9th grade students, Katie Potts. Laszlo will be playing the bass, Elizabeth will be singing, and Katie will be playing the guitar. The group, oh, go ahead. The group will be performing Green Day's Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, written by the lead singer of the band, Billy Joe Armstrong. The song captures the essence of today's milestone, both the sweet memories and the bittersweet farewells. It's a reminder that every end is also a beginning. Please enjoy Good Riddance, Time of Your Life with Elizabeth, Laszlo, and Katie.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs, the still frames in your mind, and hang them on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dead skin on track. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Thank you, Elizabeth, Laszlo, and Katie. Wasn't that great? Our next presentation will be our faculty speaker. Each year, the graduating class chooses a member of the teaching faculty to speak on behalf of their class. This year, the class of 2024 has chosen Ms. Courtney Pereira. She joined us in FIS in 2020. She's originally from Canada, and Ms. Pereira has taught middle school and high school English at international schools in Dubai and in Rome before joining us here in Frankfurt when this class was in grade 9. Selected by the class of 2024, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome this year's faculty speaker, Ms. Courtney Pereira.
I often call my students kidlets. The term kidlets is largely an homage to my own remarkable high school English teacher, Ms. Salvo, who used the term to refer to me and my peers when I was in high school. And while now a teacher as myself appreciate the term's affectionate connotation, its gender neutrality, kidlets is not always a term that's beloved by students. We're not kids, they say. After all, they're brandishing driver's licenses. They've gotten their braces off. They are taller than their moms and wear bigger shoes than their dads now. But, dearest parents, families, colleagues, Board of Trustees, and the class of 2024, if you will indulge me in one last TED Talk, I'd like to explore what it means to be a kidlet. Does graduation mean that you leave all of that kid stuff behind, or might there be some traits to take with you? The main argument against being a kidlet is the responsibility that the IB program demands. And here, you are absolutely right. There is nothing kiddish about the academic feat of completing your IB exams. You spent hours, days, years rewriting and reflecting and revising. Managing the pressures of this rigorous program and standing here today is indicative of your maturity, wisdom, and discipline. But there are definitely a couple of kidlit bricks in the foundation of your scholarly success. You see, snack time is both a fixture of kindergartner schedules and your academic regimen. If I forgot to post something on Canvas, my IB students would be incredibly understanding. But oh dear, if I forgot to give them their scheduled snacks, they'd start to form groups, nominate leaders, and confront me. During the recent exam session, I even learned that one of them enjoys snacking on literal baby food. Well, that is when they can. You see, they have a sibling, and it's a universal rule that if you have both A, a sibling, and B, a treasured snack, that sibling is going to steal and stash your snack like some sort of vicious squirrel. And so let's recap. On one hand, we're doing the very adult, very mature task of revising for HL Economics Paper 3. But on the other hand, we're concerned about our stash of Gerber Baby Grain and Grow strawberry apple snack puffs. But a peculiar penchant for puffs is just one of the eccentricities I had the joy of learning about. Class of 2024, the more I learned about your interests, the more fascinated and charmed I became. Everyone, think of the most obscure animal that you can. One of my students has probably made an adorable crochet version of it. Some of these kids feel so passionately about a pastry that they have made multiple novelty t-shirts in its honor. Grads, some of you could write a whole dissertation right now on the hierarchy of pre-workouts or protein bars. This graduating class are the sort of students who will, in one moment, deliver an individual oral, exploring hard-hitting issues of global significance, and in the next, with the same level of fervor, will tell you precisely which My Little Pony princess you are. I am Princess Sparkle. But in all seriousness, graduates, you are a very driven and talented group. Your interests, your passions, hold them dear. Allow whatever sparks your curiosity to light your path, and you will never be led astray. But there's one thrill I do suggest you leave in the past, and that is the excitement of the last minute. Now, I'm not here to chide you about your past. Instead, let's look to the future and take some of your youthful antics and place them into adult rites of passage and see how they fare. Graduates, close your eyes, will you? Imagine, I don't know, maybe you're getting married, and the wedding officiant turns to you and says, "And now, it is time to exchange your prepared vows." Why they're vaguely British, I don't know. Was today the final day for that? Is not an ideal response. If you have a kid someday, let's not have the doctor saying, "Congratulations on the birth of your child, named, baby name final? Untitled document?" Because you submitted the wrong draft of the birth certificate. There are no upload days in the real world. Of course, I speak in humorous extremes. Time management is a skill that many adults are still honing, but I do believe that your best is only achieved when you give yourself the time to carve it out. Both perfectionism or the frenzy of an all-nighter will chip away at a task, but often it's only when you draft, reflect, and feel free in your work that you'll sculpt the masterpieces of your mind. Now, I pinky promise, this next one is the last point. A kidlit trait that you absolutely want to take with you is your kindness and your care towards your friends and your family. When you go off to wherever next year takes you, don't just call your parents when you have car trouble or when you can't figure out what the symbols on the washing machine mean. Mostly because it's important to stay in touch, but partially because they don't know what those symbols mean either. Your family will always be your family, but this next phase, you're gonna start to get to know your parents and your siblings more as people, and that's a beautiful part of the journey. Cherish your families, graduates, because if the teary eyes in the audience are any indication, they certainly cherish you. And stay in touch with your friends, your FIS family. And I don't just mean sending them a text. Exchange voice notes like their podcasts. Meet up over the winter or the spring break. And when you see them, they'll tell you, "Everything's great." We're not accepting that. You're gonna check their Spotify playlist. Look at their recently played. If they are playing a lot of Lana Del Rey, The Smiths, or Morgan Wallen, you need to be checking in with them more. Is your friend a Swiftie? Great. Are they listening to a lot of the Lover album? Fantastic. Folklore? Take them out for ice cream immediately. They need it. Friendships are like plants. The fake ones are the easiest to take care of, but they won't really grow or help you breathe easier. And as for the real ones, they don't all have the same needs, but if you learn about them and tend to them carefully, the roots will just get deeper as the years pass. I'd like to finish this speech how I started it, quoting a wise woman, and I'd like to reiterate what Dr. Maya Angelou said. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Class of 2024, working with you has made me feel very fortunate and honored. I've felt inspired, and I feel so excited for all that you will accomplish. As you go forward, remember that you've got charisma, you are kind, and you are capable. Congratulations, kidlets. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. I think we all know why they chose you. Now on to our first set of awards. But before we do that, at our graduation breakfast this morning, we recognized a number of students who were awarded individual subject awards. To the students who received awards earlier today, could you please rise so that you can be acknowledged? Congratulations. Let's give them a round of applause. So we do have some awards that will be given out now. And for the first group, I'd like to now call on our grade 12 yearhead, Mr. Michael McDowell, to give out the FIS Awards for Academic Excellence. Mr. McDowell.
So the FIS Award for Academic Excellence recognizes students who achieved high academic performance across multiple disciplines and have shown strong commitment, resilience, and perseverance towards learning. This year, FIS recognizes 2 students who embody this commitment and perseverance towards learning, both of whom have achieved at the highest level consistently throughout their time at the school and demonstrated an exceptionally dedicated approach to academic excellence. The 2 recipients of the FIS Award for Academic Excellence are Alia Kavanagh and Eula Rothenberger.
I'd now like to call to the stage the FIS Oberrussel PTG President, Ms. Farah Khan, to help give the PTG Leadership Award. As it says on the screen, the PTG Leadership Award recognizes a student who has used their intellect, initiative, creativity, and character to enrich and bring impactful, long-lasting change to a team, group, or club. This year's recipient joined FIS in grade 1. She has been a leader in the girls' volleyball program for many years. She has shown excellent dedication to her own personal growth in the sport and, as a result, has inspired her peers. As well as leading the varsity team, she has been a large part of the coaching program in the last 4 years, working with the middle school team as a co-coach. Next year, she hopes to study philosophy and economics at the University of Edinburgh. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to announce this year's PTG Leadership Award winner, to Charlotte Roberts. Today's ceremony is all about celebrating our senior students. It is therefore fitting that the students have the opportunity to express their thoughts. The seniors of the graduating class of 2024 voted on 2 speakers to represent them this afternoon. Let's now hear from our first student speaker, Maya Svensson. Born in the United States, Maya came to us in 2013 as an eager second grader, having also lived in India for 2 years. Next year, she'll be back in the United States to study liberal arts at Columbia University. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our first student speaker, Ms. Maya Svensson.
Good afternoon, class of 2024. Whenever anyone asks me how long I've lived in Germany, I usually say somewhere between 3 to 4 years because of how poorly developed my German is. But the truth is, I have lived in Oberrussel and attended Frankfurt International School for 11 years. This means that I've grown up with and been raised by FIS. I've evolved from an elementary student who received speeding tickets for running in the hallway, who strategically faked having a sore throat to secure cough drops from the nurse's office, and who was granted filled-in triangles instead of 1 through 7 grades, yearning for the day I'd become a senior. And regardless of when you moved here, parts of you were also raised by the community at FIS. The list of individuals who have brought us to this day is exhaustive. Our families who cook for us and love us no matter how cranky we are. Our teachers whose classrooms have become our habitats. The counselors, the security team, the cleaning crew, our homeroom teachers, Ms. Vandermeer, our year head, Mr. McDowell, and the list just goes on. I want to thank every person who has supported us as we've endured the past few years of high school. Today, I especially want to thank and commemorate the students who comprise the class of 2024. Those of you I whisper with in class when I need a laugh, the faces I encounter when I walk my familiar routes in the hallway, and my friends who make every day worth coming to school have all colored my experience here. When I was feverishly writing my IAs or hungrily waiting for Ms. Vandermeer to announce, "Your 5 minutes of reading time starts now," there was nothing more comforting than knowing that all of you are with me on this endeavor, passing deadlines, submitting EEs, awaiting the weekends, and carrying our pens in crumpled Ziploc bags into our last exams. While the past 2 years of high school have been undoubtedly challenging and exhausting, when I reflect on my experience, it's the charming traditions that we have cultivated as a grade that I recall most vividly. I can still feel the unity of a class when granted a substitute teacher, convincing them that we already did the work that was assigned, or wishing each other good luck on tests in the hallways, even if we aren't in the same classes, and taking the moment to briefly dream together about the day the stress finally ceases. I think of lounging on the lower field in the spring, or feeling like children again when teachers generously put on a Kahoot, or when we're bestowed a snow day. Together, we have lived through significant milestones and filled the long weeks in between with these customs. We have simultaneously shaped and been shaped by FIS, leaving traces of ourselves on the ground. Whether it's some trauma that we've induced into a few teachers, or the long-lasting impacts we've had in the service groups, performing arts, or the sports teams, or maybe it's just the names that we've signed into old textbooks. These footprints we have left mark our history here. I don't know if the traditions that we have created and nurtured over the years will dissipate once we throw our caps today, if our favorite teachers will remember us, and if our legacies will dissolve. But I'm excited to see how every feeling that emerged from these small interactions, from the habits we've formed, and from the challenges we overcame on this campus will not only follow us, but guide us to the next places we grow into. Thank you and congratulations to the class of 2024. It has been an honor to grow up with you.
Thank you, Maya. Our next performance will be a dance performance performed by Lamia Majumdar. Lamia was born here in Frankfurt, but has also lived in the US. She speaks English, German, Spanish, Slovak, and Bengali. She joined us in 2022 as an 11th grader coming to us from West Palm Beach, Florida. Next year, she hopes to be back in Florida to study economics and political economy at the University of Miami. The dance Lamia is performing is from the song Manwalaji by Shreya Ghoshal and Arjit Singh. It's from the 2014 Hindi film Happy New Year. Please welcome to the floor, Lamia Mujamdar.
रघुकुल रीत सदा चली आई, प्राण जाए पर वचन न जाए।
Thank you, Lamia. That was amazing. Really. Our second student speaker today, chosen by his peers, is Hugues Casabo. Originally from France, Hugues joined FIS in grade 8, coming to Germany a few years ago from the American School of Bombay in Mumbai. He's off next year to study at Erasmus University in Rotterdam. But before he goes, let's hear from him about his reflections on his time here at FIS. Ladies and gentlemen, Hugues Casabo.
Guests, faculty, and fellow students, I thank you today for offering me the utmost honor of giving this graduation speech. For those who don't know, speakers are given the difficult task of crafting a speech which not only tells the tales of the individual, but also evokes the experience of the year as a whole. All of this while being understood by a multicultural audience of all ages and all nationalities. To do so, let me start from the beginning. Exactly 654 days ago today, all of us set foot into the foyer for the first day of grade 11. This first day turned into the first week, which turned to the first month, and before we knew it, turned into the first year. And precisely 344 days ago today, we were announced as the new FIS graduating class. And now here we are, sitting on the very same bleachers, attired in maroon robes, and a couple of hours before leaving this familiar place behind for the final time as a student. Take a moment and look beside you. Who would have guessed we would have come this far despite so many setbacks? Although safe to the naked eye, FIS is a place plagued with some of the toughest challenges known to man. €8.50 better chicken, Mr. McDowell waiting outside your homeroom in the morning, Meatless Monday, Fish Friday, and discerning the double, triple, and sometimes quadruple negative in Mr. Ahmed's case studies are only some of the things we as a year have had to overcome to sit here today. On a more serious note, FIS has brought us so much. For me personally, it has provided a lot more than just an education. It has provided me with 5 years' worth of memories forever etched in my brain. It has provided me with new relationships, and while some may drift away, their significance will never fade, lingering only as cherished memories. However, other relationships will be cultivated, for they have become an integral part of who I am today and the man I will be tomorrow. The way I see it, during all of our time here, our individual stories are being written. All separate yet interconnected. Each unique but with the same core memories. Whether that is Mr. Homeyard's innate chugging abilities, being announced as the new seniors, or even being all together in Berlin as Eintracht won the Europa League final, we all have these memories in common. This goes to show that our time during these past 2 years will not be remembered by grades, popularity, or who rocked the latest fashion trend. Rather, we will be remembered by the relationships we made and the people we have impacted, who will remember the graduating class of 2024 far beyond their final exit from this beloved hall. Every year on my birthday, a cherished tradition unfolds with my dad's first morning question. How does it feel to be a year older, he asks. Each time I respond that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed, but deep down, everything feels different. Our most dreaded moments went from hearing the phone ring in class and the teacher answering, yes, he is here, to waiting the Turnitin score on manage back. And our joys, once found in seeing Miss Sylvie in a math classroom, now come from the comforting words, I haven't started either, when discussing an overdue assignment with a friend. Good days were defined by simple pleasures, such as pajama days and class bus rides, but are now defined by days where assignments aren't being given. We went from shiny congratulations stickers on our tests to calculating the amount of A's, B's, and C's previously answered on a multiple choice test to maximize our guessing chances. Back in elementary, birthdays meant gifts, cakes, candles. Now, birthdays are a dreaded reminder that we are all 1 year closer to looking like Mr. Sinclair. When I look up at the group of people I have called classmates for the past 2 years, I see a group of uniquely talented people eager to leave their mark on this world. No doubt, many of us are unsure about the new chapter in our lives. And at the same time, many of us are very excited regarding this new chapter. You see, it is being able to feel two immense yet opposite emotions simultaneously that make us human. It is through sadness that we discover happiness. Through suffering, we develop compassion. But most of all, it is through loss that we value love. I say this to remind our graduating class and our beloved parents and guardians that we should not sorrow at the thought of moving on, but rather recognize the luck of having lived these moments together. In the span of 18 short years, we have amassed an album of moments with the wonderful individuals who have graced our lives. Regardless of the paths we take, these memories stand as pillars of our journey, unwavering to the passing time, and forever attesting to the beauty of our experience. As I stand here today, moments before bidding you farewell for the final time, I can't help but think of Mr. Switzer's words earlier today when quoting Maya Angelou. Apparently other performers have thought of the same, but I'll go again. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget the way you made them feel. After this beautiful quote, all that is left to say is, congratulations, class of 2024, we did it. Thank you.
Thanks, Oops. Next up is our second set of awards, and we will start with the FIS Alumni Service Award. As the name suggests, the FIS Alumni Award is presented with an alumni, so I'd like to call upon our graduation speaker, Nick Heisman-Smith, to help me with this next award. Come on up, Nick. The award recognizes a student who has been a role model of social responsibility and global citizenship by contributing positively and consistently to our local and/or global community and demonstrating open-mindedness, empathy, and compassion. Our recipient this year came to us in 2010 in pre-primary and has been involved in many ways inside and outside of school ever since. He has been a role model and has consistently shown a positive attitude in all that he does. His service to FIS through the media team has been outstanding, but perhaps even stronger is commitment to the local community as a member of the Volunteer Fire Brigade. In his role, he works closely with supervisors to lead, teach, and train younger volunteers. Such is his commitment to firefighting that back in September, he sent the following email to his math and history teacher. It reads, "I'm helping the volunteer firefighters at a large structure fire in Bad Homburg right now. For this, I had to leave campus early. Please excuse my absence." Next year, he plans on attending Goethe University here in Frankfurt to study medicine. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's FIS Alumni Service Award goes to Ruben Mim. Our final award presented today is our Board of Trustees Award. I will now ask our Chair of the Board of Trustees, Ms. Julia Reyes-Rinnert, to come to the stage for the final award. Ms. Julia Reyes-Rinnert.
FIS faculty, staff, honored guests, and parents and family members of the class of 2024. It is my pleasure to also welcome you today, and I'm honored to be celebrating this special day with you, and I extend my congratulations on behalf of the Board of Trustees to this wonderful class of 137 proud graduates. The Board of Trustee Mission Award recognizes a student who exemplifies the ideals of the school's mission through the pillars of excellence, opportunity, and balance. The recipient of the Mission Award this year came to FIS in grade 1 back in August 2012. His accolades are known to many. In addition to outstanding grades, he's been a junior house captain, founder and lead of Castle campaigns over the past 3 years, leader of Amnesty International, leader on Changemaker conferences since inception, chair of student service leaders for the past 2 years, creator and manager of Google site for service groups, and he has been the recipient of the Mark Alphus Leadership Award. In so many ways, he's a true ambassador for FIS. He's been accepted to a number of leading universities in the UK, US, and Italy. Please join me in congratulating our Board of Trustees Mission Award recipient for 2024, Maximilian Kirschner.
Thank you, Julia. Well, we've now arrived at the most important part of today's ceremony, and the part that many of you have been waiting for all afternoon, the presentation of the senior class and awarding of the diplomas. I would now like to ask the chair of our Board of Trustees, Ms. Julia Harreas-Rinnert, again, back to the stage, as well as our head of school, Dr. Paul Fochman, to join me. The students will be recognized alphabetically by their homerooms. You can see the homeroom names on the banners behind them. I've also asked our graduation coordinator, Frau Christiane Storm, to introduce each student as they begin their journey across the stage. I'll try to say a little bit about each student as they receive their FIS diploma, where they came from, where they're going, and who they would like to thank. Are we ready? All right, let's get started. The first homeroom is the homeroom of Katrin Hertel. Could you please rise and make your way to the stage? Our next homeroom is that of Mr. Chris Hill. If you could stand and make your way to the stage. Our next homeroom will be that of Mr. Daniel Sarstedt. If you could please rise and make your way to the stage. Next homeroom is Mr. Jonathan Shipley. If your homeroom could rise and make your way to the stage. Next up is the homeroom of Mr. Wade. If you could bring Next up, the homeroom of Mr. Sean Ward. You could make your way to the stage. Next up is the homeroom of Mr. Duncan Watkin. If you could make your way to the stage. Next up is the homeroom of Miss Cordula Weingart. We have one more diploma, even though all of the graduates of 24 have graduated. Mr. Pete Sinclair is graduating after 19 years at FIS. He came to FIS for an interview 20 years ago. The day of his interview was the day of graduation. So technically, this is his 20th graduation, and he's never received one of these. So I think it's about time we give him one. Mr. Pete Sinclair, where are you? And now on to our final music performance this evening. I'd like to invite to the stage two of our graduated seniors, Daeon Kang and Hyunju An. Daeyeon will be playing the violin, Hyunju will be playing the piano. They will be assisted by one of our 9th grade students, Clara Rosner, on the cello. They'll be performing 1,000 Years by Christina Perry, rearranged by the students for this occasion. The song embodies the persistence, the patience, and deep connections formed during their schooling, reminding us that these bonds and memories created here are timeless. Please enjoy 1,000 Years. Thank you. That was outstanding. Outstanding. Brilliant. So while our students are making their way back to their spots, I just want to remind our senior service leaders, you are requested for a photo op before the end of today for the yearbook. So don't forget, if you're a senior student who's in leadership, please make sure you get a photo taken. Mr. Sinclair will help you. So that's my last announcement. We have reached the end of our graduation ceremony. There's just one more task that gives me great pride today. So to the graduating class of 2024, could you make your way down the stairs and surround your parents? This will be fun. Watch this. We all there? All right. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Frankfurt International School, I hereby declare the graduating class of 2024 officially graduated. You may now switch your tassel from the right to the left. Congratulations. And you can throw your hands. Congratulations. Thanks, everyone. Don't forget the reception in the cafeteria and photos, if you want, in front of the auditorium foyer. And don't forget your umbrellas. Thank you.